Hi, welcome to an introduction to cannabidiol, or CBDs. My name's Jason Coleman. I'll be providing beneficial direction with cannabidiol. CBD or cannabidiol is another component or cannabinoid found in cannabis. For a little bit of a history on cannabis, I'd like to take us back a few thousand years. We could speak of a Greek historian named Herodotus who actually spoke of the Scythians would build a tent, and in this little 3-foot tent with 3 or 6 spikes, they'd have an urn of coals, and then on top of that, an urn of cannabis, and they'd put their head in that. And Herodotus would write that they would pull their head out laughing as if they gorged themselves on wine. Even going to India, Nepal, making a product for Bang for many, many years. In the Africa, in Congo, hemp worshippers called the Riamba would actually smoke it out of an enormous gourd. And then when we go to China, some of the first written recorded history of cannabis comes from Shenong, a Chinese emperor who, as the picture shows, he actually had the ability to put an herb in his mouth, a plant in his mouth, and tell you everything about it. That was peculiar to say he could do that as an individual, but he wrote a book called The Herbal in 2727 BC, which is the first written account of any kind of medical use of cannabis. And he did write about some of the symptom relieving qualities, pain relieving, inflammation qualities of cannabis at the time. As we move forward into Egypt, just in 1550 BC, we still have written evidence from the Ebers Papyrus that talks about the medical use of cannabis suppositories that would be used for gastrointestinal relief and also hemorrhoid pain relief. There are a few different types of the cannabis plant I want to cover: indica, sativa, and ruderalis. Ruderalis is one that we won't need to cover too much on. It's pretty much used just to hybridize with other sativa and indica plants and maybe bring out some more desirable effects out of them. But ruderalis by itself doesn't have too many desirable qualities, making a short, stumpy plant. Doesn't get very tall, not a lot of fiber that we can produce out of it, and it doesn't have a large amount of any cannabinoids that we seem to find now. So indica is more of a shorter, stockier plant. While it does provide large amounts of cannabinoids through flowers, it provides in resulting effect and a very relaxating, sedating effect. A lot of pain relief. We get sometimes other cannabinoids like CBD and CBN. But then in the sativa plant, while it does note this here lower amounts of CBD and CBN at the end, we actually find that in hemp plant, which has 0.2% or less THC content by definition of the federal government. So any hemp plant we're growing is very, very low THC content, but we find large amounts of CBD in the hemp plant. So a hemp plant is long and tall and stalky, and this is what a sativa provides. We've just got it down to where it's providing low THC for hemp. So let's talk about ways we can consume CBDs. That we can smoke it, we can vaporize it through a vapor pen, different cartridges possibly, and we can digest it. When we digest it or combust it or inhale it, those are pretty destructive properties, destroying 70 to 80% of it, what we're putting in the body at the time. So then there are other ways, like topically. Topically is just local. So as we put something on topically, locally, it's going to help with the joint or specific pain and inflammation in the area where it is applied. But there's also transdermal topical. Transdermal is a little different. Instead of destroying so much of it through combustion or the act of metabolization where we digest something and it sits in our liver for 6 to 8 hours, we're actually able to put something on the surface over venous areas by direction, and it's going to go directly into the bloodstream instead of through the bronchioles or through the liver, directly into the bloodstream, right through the surface of the skin. Another powerful way to get it into the bloodstream is sublingually. Charlotte's Web is able to apply. You can put drops right under the tongue with the eyedropper, and it's going to absorb directly into the bloodstream through the saliva gland. Specifically, you don't want to swallow that quickly. You want to leave it in your mouth long term. Try not to swallow it by leaving it in the mouth, trapped under the tongue for 3 to 5 minutes. You can't really help it. You do produce saliva. It washes through the mouth and eventually goes down the drain. So in 3 to 5 minutes, redose. Reapply 2 to 3, maybe 3 to 5 drops. Coach patients or guests to try different amounts with what they're comfortable with, because sometimes this is expensive and they don't want to just wash it down the drain quickly, where they get great effect by leaving it in the mouth. So we might redose in 3 to 5 minutes, and then after 10 minutes, dosing twice, you might dose again for a third time total, and tell patients not to be afraid to do it again. If they're seeking symptom relief and it's not there, sometimes you find it in 1 or 2 or 3 applications, but if not, maybe a little more, and as it goes to the liver, it is going to be there long term, providing greater relief. And this is to say how we provide long-term beneficial relief by making sure we swallow this cannabis at some point, whether we leave it in for a sublingual effect and it slowly goes down, or we eat an edible and it goes down right away. It's going to sit in the liver for 6 to 8 hours, leaving us with this template for the body for greater effect. I'll talk more about this later as we progress. So we're going to move forward with beneficial effects of CBD. Some of the greater relief we can actually find. It's neat to say through different applications we're going to find different relief. It might not be always in one application, but we might try more than one for greater relief, like that transdermal. I love our transdermals, sublinguals. Love it. And I sure do vaporize a lot. Now, one of the great things about CBD is it's legal when derived from hemp. Something that happened just this year, 2016, was our spending bill specifically. In the Congress's spending bill, it said that the DOJ and the DEA are completely defunded from going after companies and states where laws have been passed for them to do this, as long as they're abiding by those laws. Medical marijuana as well, but we're more focused on the hemp because CBD is derived from hemp. Due to that addendum in the spending bill, we can now also ship those over state lines. So the textiles and what we like are the oils, the CBDs. So this allows for locally grown CBDs, and there are some great sources like Charlotte's Web, locally grown CBDs instead of possibly CBDs derived from overseas sources. CBD is non-psychoactive. We gotta like that we get to coach folks that CBD is different from THC. We've known about THC for years, and I want to make sure that folks who have questions about it, you're able to coach them properly, because cannabidiol, it's not only non-psychoactive, it's anti-psychoactive. So if there's the moment where someone is experimenting with greater pain relief with THC, or they've just gotten too high, you could actually have someone put some drops of CBDs right under their tongue and have a quick intake into their bloodstream and have a few moments where they're going to feel better, or I should say in a few moments they're going to feel better and pull themselves out of that uncomfortable high moment. CBD relieves anxiety. At the same moment somebody might be having an uncomfortable high moment from THC. Anxiety, depression, PTSD are all help treated with CBD. It helps us better mitigate stress and environmental impacts. It helps produce more dopamine naturally. So we'll talk about more specific conditions later. But as this is used with PTSD, it's beautiful to say that earlier this year, Congress also said it was okay for the VA in states where it's been made legal to offer cannabis, THC, for PTSD and PTSD and chronic pain. CBD is going to be even better for PTSD, because what we found out is that larger amounts of THC, chronic amounts, might not be best, but once we start combining CBD with this THC, we're going to help even more. I'll talk about that more later as we get into specific conditions. CBD relieves pain. Maybe not as much pain by itself as it would as we start applying cannabis, THC. THC and CBD together provide greater amounts of neuro pain and analgesic pain relief, but even by itself, this is where we know it relieves pain is through greater amounts of inflammation and this muscle spasticity relief. Inflammation is described, the first two words are swelling and pain. So as we relieve inflammation, we are naturally reducing pain. Inflammation, to just be more precise, on so many different studies I've read and so many different parts of the plant itself, not just CBD, but cannabinoids, flavonoids, different parts of the plant provide inflammation relief. And it's to be noted 10 to 30 times the inflammation relief over the most common things used in hospitals today: aspirin, ibuprofen, prednisone, cortisone. It relieves greater than any of those. It's just a matter of how we apply it. We might get a cortisone shot in our back to help relieve specifically locally down deep where the injury and the inflammation is occurring the most. But if I could do a shot of the right CBD to that kind of area, like start using the right topicals, I bet I could get better relief. And it's not a steroid. Cortisone and prednisone are steroids. We don't want to use those long term. While they might provide the symptom relief we're looking for, they could be providing other secondary effects that we don't like aspirin and ibuprofen as well. Actually could eat away at the lining of your stomach, degrade the lining of your stomach by long-term usage of large amounts. So we don't like using that long-term either. Cannabis, as we use it long-term, is going to help in so many other ways that we still have yet to cover. So just know the secondary effects of cannabis are going to be much more beneficial than any of those wonderful commercials we see on TV about the prescription drugs that we're offered, which is why so many people are seeking this today. As we talk about inflammation and spasticity, this is where it leads right into intestinal contractions, cramps. I also want to talk about menstrual cycle cramps. Please make sure we talk to ladies about their period cramps as well. Inflammation relief, nausea relief. It's going to be amazing to say it's going to help with menstrual cramps, not just other types of intestinal cramps as well. And it's an antiemetic. This is where we get the reduced vomiting and nausea. And this is going to be helpful in so many things, not just conditions that arise that are complicated by this, but we're going to have treatments for cancer like chemo and radiation that induce nausea and vomiting and reduce appetite. We're going to help by reducing the nausea and vomiting. We're going to also increase appetite a little at the same time. So make sure we're applying this for so many different conditions that help with that. An antibacterial, it might not be the strongest, but we gotta say it not only kills bacteria, slows the growth of bacteria, and it's not the largest, but this is one of the reasons why we're seeking some of the other properties as well, is to help with infection, disease growth. So as we have it in the body, know it's also an antibacterial as well. Here's a neat one, is bone growth. CBD does some neat stuff. It's gonna help slow the progression of bone diseases, also cartilage and bone damage, and touching bone, everything there as well is tendon attached to muscle. So it's going to help with all of these, help repair damage and promote proper growth in those areas as we try and work them. Here's a really nice one. CBD promotes cardiovascular health. In so many ways, we're going to help fight cardiovascular diseases, but not just the disease itself, but everyday health. It's going to reduce artery blockages. It helps break down blockages. And at the same time, it's a vasorelaxant, which is actually, let's say, we talked about muscle spasticity and inflammation. All our veins and arteries are covered in this soft, smooth muscle tissue wrapping around the blood vessel and the artery. It relaxes this muscle around it, allowing the blood vessel, which is pretty much just this soft little tube, to open and expand more naturally. So in wonderful ways, it's going to help with cardiovascular health, and at the same time, it helps fight cardiovascular diseases, because sometimes we encounter those diseases because of buildup of fats and things that encounter in our veins and arteries, and this is going to help break those up and prevent it from happening in the first place. But still, at the same time, it counters cardiovascular diseases as well. I'm not sure if I mentioned that later as I go through specific conditions, so note that as well. Boom, boom, boom. One of my favorites, like inflammation relief, it's so super powerful, and I get to combat so many conditions through inflammation relief. CBD is a powerful neuroprotectant. One of the most powerful neuroprotectants, natural neuroprotectants known to man. We talk about not having all these catastrophic side effects that so many prescription pills have. CBDs have so many protective things to do, like we have our neurons that build up plaque around them, kind of like our teeth build up plaque if we don't brush them, build up tartar and plaque. Imagine our neurons, after time, build up this plaque around them, which is a deterrent for them working properly. Cannabinoid, CBD, goes in and helps kind of brush them and clean them off. The body cleans off some of this plaque that builds up, allowing for them to help transmit neurotransmitters properly. It also, like we might have fibromyalgia or neuropathy come in, these are going to be moments where neurons degrade, they misfire, and then they degrade over time. If we don't use it, we lose it, and what the body doesn't use properly, it dies away. So neurons, nerve cells die away, they wither away, they misfire for a while, and then they die. And this is where true neuropathy and paralysis comes in. It's to say, cannabis is such a powerful neuroprotectant. Let's go beyond and say our body regenerates, so it inspires greater neuroregeneration. We will rebuild broken neurons and nerve cells properly and have them refiring again. I've seen this happen through neuropathy and paralysis with autoimmune diseases, and we'll touch on this a little more. Just know in so many ways CBD helps, like it naturally decreases swelling in the brain. Just as we grow older, our brain swells inside our cranium and takes up more space, so it's going to be powerful in that aspect as well. So as we talk about cardiovascular health as well, imagine the brain has better blood flow, proper blood flow, and isn't as swollen inside our cranium, and just naturally is lubed up a little better by CBD, naturally providing the proper oils that our body intakes as well. Wow, I'm going on and on a little deeper, but understand, powerful neuroprotectant, protects our brain. CBD, anti-tumor and tumor reduction. There is so much evidence out there right now for us to read about and see how it shrinks the size of tumors. I'll start, let's say, August 21st, 2015, the National Cancer Institute, cancer.gov, a government website, said the words cancer kills, strike that, reverse it. Cannabis kills cancer. This is huge. This is amazing. This is a government website giving us some kind of confirmation on what I've said and what people like Rick Simpson have said for decades, that it does help kill cancer. It actually, through scientific research today, shows it turns off the contagion factor in a cancer cell, the DNA structure in a cell that tells this cancer cell to metastasize, to spread cancer to the cell right next to it or all the way across the body. Cannabis has the ability to shut this off. It has the ability to kill the stem cell, which causes reoccurrence of cancer. This is to say radiation and chemo does not do that. They will tell you that you have the chance of reoccurrence. And cancer it's an amazingly vicious disease. And this is why I tell folks we need to viciously reattack it with large amounts of cannabis. and we can, as much as we can afford of CBD to put into the body to attack with cannabis to try and make a disease exit the body, to get the body to sweep something out. It's not cannabis, it's not CBD doing it. It's actually, and I keep using the word cannabis, I need to correct that, as that is hemp we're using by definition. The hemp plant, as we're using it to fight this cancer, we need to make sure we dose large amounts of it back to have this counter effect. But then once we become clean, once we see a doctor and the doctor officially says cancer is gone, you have no active cancer in the body. That's really what he's saying when they talk to you, active cancer in the body. So we have the chance of reoccurrence, but if we use CBDs every day, some kind of raw hemp extract every day, we might actually have the chance of preventing the reoccurrence and killing the stem cell. Studies have also shown that happens as well. Now, it's a powerful antioxidant. I threw this right in with the cancer side because that's really what we're doing when we're fighting diseases, is an antioxidant. Oxidation is the breaking down of cells, which also causes mutation in so many different ways. Different diseases are going to be caused by the oxidization, the breakdown of cells. So as we prevent the oxidization, we're going to prevent any kind of mutation. This is why we eat all our fresh fruits and vegetables, and we keep vitamin C's in our body all the time, so we help fight off diseases before they occur. Once again, speaking to the power of prevention that the CBDs can help with. Now, as we've talked about some of the benefits of CBDs, now we're going to talk about more specific conditions I've had some experience with, touch specifically on real things that we can talk to folks about when they call or talk to you about what they're ailing from. Anxiety, depression, PTSD, schizophrenia, and dementia. So we're not just talking about basic anxiety and depression. We're going to help mitigate stress and anxiety, depression by having CBDs in the body. We can't stop the world from occurring. What if we just give maybe a little better opportunity for the body not to respond negatively to some of the environmental impacts we encounter? This is how it's going to help fight with anxiety and depression, PTSD. As we have some of these conditions long term, they might incur more of a serious psychosis like schizophrenia or dementia, more serious chemical imbalances, and we can help counter and prevent the occurrence of these by having CBDs in the body. And even when they've occurred, dementia might not be as good to treat with THC. Chronic THC might not be the best, but CBD actually goes in and helps the brain to produce more dopamine and counter the breakdown of the right neurotransmitter, which is going on in some of these different chemical imbalances. There are different neurotransmitters that are actually blocking the production of dopamine. CBD at this moment is going to come in and help encourage that and decrease the blockers that are preventing them. So we're in two ways. They're encouraging the right amount of the right neurotransmitter to be grown, produce more dopamine, and then it's going to decrease the amount of the blockers that are being produced at the same time. So it is chemical neurotransmitters that block dopamine, and we're going to decrease those at the same time we're producing more dopamine. So this is how CBD specifically, all by itself without THC, can counter dementia and help with the condition of that and schizophrenia. Pretty interesting. Studies are showing that. As we move forward, I love inflammation. CBD helps with muscle spasticity, specifically cramps. The menstrual cycle cramps, it's going to be amazing with the anxiety, stress, the production of the cramps and inflammation that comes along with that, without even having to take opiates or something serious. There are ladies who have serious moments who are, have to check out a few days out of the month sometimes to take opiates, and they're just not quite the same, not due to how bad the body is, but how the other drugs and things they have to do to counter that just to make sure we're functional. Imagine being able to take something that counters the inflammation, the pain, the stress, the anxiety, and actually leaves you feeling more functional. That's an amazing opportunity to say without being sedated to get there. Wow. Inflammation and inflammatory diseases. So there's a huge list of inflammatory diseases. We're talking about treating inflammation 10 to 30 times better just by having a full plant extract, or maybe even a topical applied. Rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis can be helped by applying topicals. Now, rheumatoid arthritis is actually a degrading disease, not the condition of our joints getting, worn down over time and hard work, but rheumatoid arthritis can attack an adolescent to someone very later in age and any time in between. We would attack this not just by symptom relief of topicals, but by having CBD oil in the body every day, using it sublingually or eating it, either way, just making sure it's there long term. This is how we're going to counter any long-term disease, by having it in the body all the time. IBS and Crohn's disease, along with other gastrointestinal disorders, many of them occur due to unchecked inflammation in the bowels and intestines. So by having, once again, CBDs in the body, in our digestive system, it's going to be there long term, helping control the muscle spasticity and inflammation that occurs with these gastrointestinal disorders. Migraines and sciatica, while they're not directly seen as an inflammatory condition unless they're related to a injury, they occur through inflammation. Migraines, 90% of all headaches occur due to a lack of oxygen to the brain. Chronic migraines begin by normal mild headaches that we treat, and due to stress, they incur stress and tension in the back between the shoulder blades. Stress manifests right there between our shoulder blades usually and moves up or down. As it moves up, it goes into our shoulders and our neck, where in our head and the back of our neck, those muscles that are grabbing the back of our neck are covering the carotid artery shooting right into the skull back there. Those are squeezing those carotid arteries to a point where they're not allowing enough oxygen into the brain, which causes a headache. And as this occurs in a larger amount, tighter, we're so sensory overload we can't handle light, touch, or sound sometimes. So this is how serious a condition, and imagine the inflammation that might be occurring in the brain as well as we're having this, and it could cause even more serious side effects. So we want to control the inflammation and keep proper blood flow to the brain. Remember all of the above: cardiovascular, inflammation, and neuroprotection. So it's going to be very powerful for helping with migraines when used correctly, and it might be more than one application. It could be topical and sublingual and digestive, and shoot, if we could get a little puff on a vapor pen, all of the above at the right time might make a big difference in someone's life. Sciatica pain. So the sciatica is where we have nerves shooting down from our hips, right from the bottom of our spine, spreading out, going to each leg. What happens here is, instead of the stress and inflammation moving up to the shoulders and neck, it moves down to the hips and the back and the waist. And this is where people encounter lightning and flame type pain shooting down their hips and legs all the way to their feet sometimes. We can help control this. Neuroprotection, inflammation relief. So now, instead of the carotid artery in the head being choked off by muscles that are swollen, now there are muscles in the hips and the back that are squeezing off the sciatica nerve, which is your main nerve, shooting down to your legs. So it's squeezing those off, actually causing incredible pain, and we can control that neuro firing and the inflammation, and hopefully the stress that's causing that as well. I love treating inflammation because I have such a good effect doing it. So talk about any one of the options that anybody can afford, their favorite option, and as soon as we start applying it, whether it's just topical or getting that in their bloodstream through sublingually and then digestively, all of them are going to have great relief for that inflammation or condition that's caused by inflammation. CBD helps treat neurological disorders. Wow, I could have put a list that goes on forever on this page. There are a huge list of neurological degrading diseases and disorders. Epilepsy has been shown to, with drops of CBD under the tongue, seizures have been treated for days even. This is going to vary with every individual no matter what condition we've been diagnosed with. It might be different treatment from one person to another. Might not be just sublingual, but maybe a different company of oil might provide from the plant they've extracted from. There could be some balance of not just cannabinoid but terpenes or something else in there that is providing the right relief. I've had so many different neurological disorders that have gotten different relief from different companies. While one person's gotten relief from Charlotte's Web, another person might. Now at the same time, we're very limited on what kind of products we can provide them from the website, so we might tell them different amounts, which I think is very effective as well. Don't just stop with one single dosage option. Try more. Try different applications. Try the vaporizations for symptom relief. And no matter what, when we're seeking symptom relief, we have to make sure we're using CBDs every day, as it's a powerful neuroprotectant. We're not just seeking symptom relief, but we're hopefully seeking control, long-term treatment over this neurological degrading disease. Multiple sclerosis has a buildup of scarring on the spine. It's to be said, CBD not only helps with the treatment of the muscle spasticity and inflammation and pain, neurological firing that happens with symptom spikes, but it also helps control the buildup and the frequency of which the scarring occurs on the spine. This is important because as more of this scarring occurs on the spine, those are serious incidences when the scarring occurs, so it slows down the manifestation and how bad the severity is of symptoms in that time, but it slows down how often scarring appears, which gives them longer relief and greater relief and control over this disease. Parkinson's disease and tremors. This is shaking of the hands and sometimes entire tremors of the body. We're able to control these. We've talked about powerful neuroprotection. I've had great personal relief with my mom on her tremors. She was trapped in a room with a door handle and not a door a door knob and not a door handle. So the knob she just couldn't make happen at some point. And through treating her with CBDs every day, about 3 months in, she calls me one night to tell me, Jason, I just cut veggies with a knife in one hand and carrot in another. Working with dinner. And then I think it was another month and a half later, she called me to tell me she was knitting again. A beautiful moment. Mom, we're there. And it's so amazing to be able to have breakthrough moments with people you love. And we're going to empower you and everyone else you know and calls and talks to you with hopefully greater relief options, symptom relief options, and long-term healing. Alzheimer's is a little bit of a ghost, and sometimes with individual patients you have different relief, so we might try different effects like vaporization or sublingual, different treatments. But keep encouraging the everyday use. While we might not see the immediate effects with CBDs we want with Alzheimer's, long-term use still might provide more miraculous results long-term. Fibromyalgia and other autoimmune diseases. This is an interesting thing. We're talking about neurological disorders and the immune system at the same time. The fibromyalgia is caused by the immune system not quite properly functioning, and as a result, nerves are misfiring at different locations in the body, or maybe the whole body altogether. It's like lightning or fire once again all over, and it's disabling. We're able to treat the nerves firing, the muscle spasticity in response to the nerves firing. These cramps that occur, they lock up in like C's with pain. And at the same time, what we're doing is suppressing how the immune system is not properly functioning. It doesn't suppress it to an unbeneficial point. It actually is auto-balancing your immune system. It's another way, I believe I have this later if I don't, this is another way how it helps with HIV, the immune system deficiency, right? It's going to help boost the immune system to a more proper level. With fibromyalgia, imagine we're properly balancing it, and then the nerves aren't firing as crazy, and eventually through long-term usage, hopefully we're providing long-term beneficial effects. CBD helps treat diabetes. Ooh, this is an exciting one for me as diabetes is in my family. Type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is an interesting ghost as it's an insulin thing. Onsets usually with younger people, and while type 2 sets on in adulthood usually. But CBD helps moderate blood sugar spikes. And honestly, actually, through studies I've read, talks about how it increases the sensitivity to the body of how whether the pancreas isn't currently producing any insulin and we're not moderating the blood sugar spikes internally, but by the insulin, injected into the body, the pancreas is more sensitive to the insulin in the body, so it gives it the ability to better cope with the blood sugar that's in there, with what insulin is provided, whether it's internal or external. Pretty cool. And then this one really got me excited as it's so powerful. It not only prevents the onset but blocks the further development of diabetes. This is where I've read there are cases in California where people have cured type 2 diabetes with CBD usage as well. And we do know we can do it through controlled diets, strict controlled diet, but with CBD as well as how it helps the body naturally do this. You might actually provide greater long-term healing in the body through long-term usage. Can't promise anything, right? But this is where we talk about greater usage every day might provide some type of miraculous results. I use the example of a band-aid. Like we might get a cut on a hand and a cut on another hand, and when we clean, when we apply the right ointments and alcohol to make it heal, what we're not doing is putting a broom to it and sweeping infection and the cut away. We're inspiring the body to do what it does naturally and heal, regenerate, grow new, kick out infection, bad things, and make us properly healthy. Homeostasis, the actual evolution of our body naturally growing and evolving all the time. I'm just proposing, hopefully, that we might give the body the right inspiration to heal, to recover from some of the most serious conditions right now known to man. Neurological degrading diseases, cancer, help stop the degradation of HIV. There are amazing things to be said. Inflammation causes other damage, and we can control inflammation better than anything else we're aware of currently. So I want to make sure to say that not only symptom relief, but make sure that we're using cannabis every day. Everyday use has the potential to provide miraculous results. I've had many people come back and tell me this, and I've lived it myself. I've seen other people live it. And I want to encourage you to live it yourself, whether we weren't chasing anything serious off. I've read multiple people, two different PhD sources that at the end of their results of research said if we consume nothing but hemp seed, which is a superfood, has the right cholesterols and fats and proteins, minerals, nutrients we need in it just to eat all by itself, we might live off hemp seed, hundreds or thousands of years old, because of the regenerative properties found in this plant, what it inspires in our body. So, happy healing. If you have any questions about anything specific, please feel free to reach out. I love to help. Thank you very much. My name's Jason Coleman.